Hey guys, it's Cameron. Welcome to the Life of a Dev, and today I'm going to be showing you guys how to create a global state pattern to use in your React apps to manage global state using React hooks and the React Context API. So let's go ahead and get right into it, guys. So I have here on my desktop just a tutorial folder. We're going to go ahead and create a new folder in here and just call it global state. Within this global state folder, I'm going to open up Hyper. Hyper is just a terminal that I use. It's my terminal of choice. You can use any terminal, but what we're going to do is within this new folder that we created, we're going to run the create React app command to create a React boilerplate. If you don't have create React app installed, you can npm install create React app. If you don't know how to npm install, I'm assuming you don't have Node installed on your machine, which is a whole nother machine or a whole nother task, and I might make a tutorial about that later. But your first step would be going about installing npm and Node, which normally comes as a package. Which shouldn't be very hard, and there's probably a million videos on YouTube. But once all of that aside, as long as you have everything set up, we can go ahead and run create React app, and we can run it in our current directory. This is going to take a while, so I'm probably just going to fast forward while this creates the boilerplate app and probably put some music on, so I'll see you guys when it's done. Okay guys, so that's gone ahead and created our boilerplate app here. So we're just going to go ahead and open that in VS Code. I'm going to do that right from the terminal here by just typing code period. You can do that by opening VS Code and opening this directory, or if you have VS Code in your machine, you should be able to type code period, and that should open up the current directory in VS Code. So here we have our React app. In our source file or folder, the first thing we want to do is create a new file, and we're just going to go ahead and call this globalstate.js. Within this file, we're going to need a few dependencies, and we're going to go ahead and import those off right at the top. So import, we're going to need React, obviously. And we're also going to need the use context so that we can use the context API. Or no, we're not going to need use context, sorry. We're going to need use state. And we're going to import both of those from React. Okay. And then once we have that, what we're going to do is we are going to create a constant variable. I'm just going to go ahead and call it state, and I'm going to set this equal to an object. Within this object, this is basically your state. Within this object, I'm just going to create one key value pair, and it's just going to be called company name. Obviously, you can have this set to anything. You can have this set to an empty array to get off, or an empty object at the beginning and update it. You can have this set to like a default state that you want to use and then update that later on as well, or you can have it set empty as well, like I said. But we're just going to have it set we're just going to have one key value here, and this is going to be company name, and the value will be a string of cited solutions, which is my company. And then what we're going to do is we're going to create our context. So using the context API, so what we'll do, or we're going to create our context API. So we're going to go we're going to declare a constant variable. We'll call this global context. Sure, why not? Equals React. React, come on. I thought that was going to autocorrect for me, but I guess I was wrong. React.create context. And we're going to set this to our state object here. And we actually want to export that variable here. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to create an anonymous arrow function. We're going to create an anonymous arrow function and export it as default at the same time. So instead of doing like const blah 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 anonymous arrow function, we're going to just do export default anonymous arrow function. It just reduces our code a little bit, and this is going to take one argument, and within this argument we're going to have children. And we'll use that later. Basically, this is going to be all of our children components that are going to be within our, if you've ever used the React Context API, you understand how this works. But this is basically going to be all the children components that need access to our state. So the first thing we need to do is actually create that state. So what we'll do is we're going to use React hooks, and we're going to use the use state hook. So what we'll do is we'll go const, and to set this up, we can actually just in VS Code. I'm just going to do, I don't know why I just did that. I'm just going to do, that did not work. I don't know why that worked. Okay, normally it works. Anyways, it'll be a const, and it will be an array, so a constant array of two variables. The first one is going to be our state, so we'll just call it global state, and then the second one is going to be a function which we use to modify and update and basically update the state, and we'll just call that set global state, and that will be equal to use state and our state. So basically we just use the React hook or React use state hook and passed our state in. The next thing we're going to want to do is return, like you would in any normal React functional based component, or functional component. And in this return statement, we're going to use our global context. So we'll do global context dot provider. And if you ever use the context API, this should look similar. And the value will be will actually be our array here, and we're just going to pass it down as the whole array, just like that. And then inside of our global context provider, we're going to need obviously our children. So what this does is what we've done is we've imported React and use state. We've created a state object. We've created our context, our global context API. We have an anonymous arrow function that's exported by default, which will take in our children components, and within that we set our state, and then we return our context provider with the value of our state and distribute that to our children component, our child or children components. Sorry. I hope that makes sense. So this won't do us any good right now, so let's go ahead and actually use it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and jump into our app.js. So actually, we're going to jump into our index.js. So right here is where we actually render our app component. So before we actually get into using the state within our component, we need to pass everything into our global state, because if we don't pass everything into our global state provider, our apps, our components won't have access to our state. So not necessarily just our app component, but any component we create past our app component won't have access to our state. So what I like to do is I like to create, so first thing we need to do is I like to create a function, and I just call it index. All capitals is equal to an anonymous arrow function. And that literally just returns, so you can just do that, and this will just return global state. Ooh, if I can type, GLO, global state. And then within here, we can actually take our app component that is normally rendered in our root directory, and we can put that in our global state. And as you see, when VS Code automatically imported that, but if you wouldn't, you would have to import global state, which is this component here, from globalstate.js. So all we're doing is we're importing this default function. We're importing this default function into our index.js as a component called global state. And then we can replace this app component with index. And I'm actually going to make that a self-closing tag. And then VS Code Prettier will pick that up. So this should work. I'm going to hop back into my terminal and just do npm start, which should create which should start our application in a development environment, which should allow us to make sure that nothing's broken. And as long as it starts up, there shouldn't be any changes quite yet, but it should just start up. So let's just hope that it starts up. Awesome. So what we're going to do is we're going to put the company name right in between the React logo and this little blurb of text here, just to show you how to use it. So what we've successfully done right now is we've created our global state. So our global state exists. And I believe we can even see it in React if we inspect element here. And you have React Dev Tools. Let me see. So yeah, if you jump over to React, in our index here, yeah, see our context provider here? You see this array? 0 element, company name, boom, cited solutions. So our state is in our application, and then anything within this provider, so any component down the chain will have access to this state, which is kind of cool. So let's go ahead and jump back into VS Code. Let's jump into our app component, or this would be any component that you'd want to use your state in. And let's go ahead, I'm going to go ahead and show you guys how to use that state and then how we can update that state. So what we're going to need is we're going to need to import use context, and we're also going to need use effect. And use effect is like the hook that replaces component did mount essentially. There's a lot more you can do with it, but that's how I use it. So what we can do here is within, so sorry, one second, I'm trying to think. So we have our component here, we have our effect. What we need is, we need const global. So this is our array. This is our array, so we can actually basically just copy this array and plop that right there, and that will be equal to it. So instead of setting it to use state, we're going to set it to use context, and that will allow us to grab it and use the state. And where we're going to grab that from is global context, which, as you see, has automatically imported it for us from our global state. So basically, we're just grabbing it right from here. So see, export global context equals React create context, and then our state. And then what we can do is once we have that, we can use destructuring. So we can go const destructuring or destructured, and we can go company name, which is our key value pair in our global state, and we can just set that to global state. So basically what this says is we want company name, which is set to Cited Solutions. It's not going to connect here, but as you see in our provider here, the company name is set to Cited Solutions. So basically what this does is this grabs the company name from global state, which is grabbed from our provider. I hope you understand that. So basically, if you want to use state in any application, you're going to need these two lines, and then you can just destructure whatever you need. So if there was like an age variable and like a sex variable within that object, you can grab those variables easily. But there's just company name, and that's all we're going to be using. So we're just grabbing company name. So, like I said, we're going to be putting it in a heading tag between the paragraph and the logo, which is right here. The logo is right here. The paragraph's right here. And we're just going to go ahead and put our company name. We save that. We should jump over, and that should refresh. And boom, there you go. Cited Solutions is now in that component. We're now using that state in that component, and you can use this state in any component down the chain, which is very nice. And they can be functional components. They don't have to be class-based components, which is amazing. I love that. So, let me go ahead and show you guys how to update the state. So to update the state, what we're going to use is we're going to use the use effect. And how I like to normally do this is I normally like to create a function called comp did mount, kind of like component did mount, comp did mount, and I set this equal to an anonymous arrow function, and this will just update our state. So what we'll do is we'll go set global state, and as you see, it gives us hints. It literally says company name, so like it will tell you what is in the global state, and it will tell you what type it is. So we obviously see that we have a key value pair of company name that requires a string. So we'll pass this function, we'll take an array, or it will take an object, and it will completely overwrite your current state. So if you don't want to completely overwrite your current state, you can use the spread operator and just go set global state equals an object of spread operator global state. So basically with that, and then comma, and then whatever value you want to add. So like if we did want to add an age value here of 21, we save that, and then we go use effect comp did mount, not company name, comp did mount, and then every time an object needs re-rendered. So basically what that just says is, or this is on load, so this will run once when the component mounts. So this is how use effect kind of replaces component did mount. But now if we jump back over in here and we look at our state now, you should see that our provider has an array, and we have a component or a key value pair of age and company name. So that's how you can update global state and use the spread operator to update global state. But we're just going to go ahead and change company name to Google, just for the hell of it. If I could spell Google. Oh, I can't spell today at all. But now you should see, it should say Cited Solutions for a second, and then component did mount fires, and it gets changed to Google. So that is how to create a global state pattern using React hooks and the Context API. If you guys have any questions, feel free to leave them in the description. I hope I did an alright job explaining that. It's been a really long time since I've created a video, and I haven't created a video on coding since I was probably like 14 on a channel that's dead on YouTube. If you guys are wondering why this popped up in my feed, my voice may sound familiar. I ran a channel called I Don't Mod Bro, which was a RGH channel. and now I build websites. So hope you guys stick around for the fun. If you guys don't want to stick around, I understand. But if you guys do, I hope to see you guys in the next video. Don't forget to leave a like. Don't forget to subscribe. And like I said, if you guys have any questions, please feel free to comment, and I'll try to get back to you guys as soon as possible. I know I may not have done the best job explaining that and describing that. It's just been a long time since I made a video, and I was just kind of getting analysis paralysis, and I just needed to create a video. So this video probably won't even have an intro. It probably won't even have an outro. It's probably gonna be sloppily edited, but I was just getting analysis paralysis. I was just sitting around. I wasn't doing anything. I just needed to record this. So I hope you guys enjoyed, and I hope to see you guys in the next one.